Welcome to Off the Page, the official podcast of the San Miguel Writers Conference and Literary Festival. My name is Camila Sanchez Bolaño, and our guest today is one of Canada's most celebrated writers, whose work beautifully blurs the boundaries between memoir, fiction, nature writing, and literary nonfiction. Throughout her career, Merilyn Simonds has explored the profound connections between landscape, memory, creativity, and the human experience, reminding us that the place we inhabit often shape the stories we tell. Based between Canada and San Miguel de Allende, she brings a unique perspective shaped by two places, two landscapes, and two literary communities. She is the author of numerous acclaimed books, including The Holding, The Convict Lover, Woman Watching, and Refuge, and has received many of Canada's highest literary honors. Beyond her own writing, she has also been a passionate advocate for literature, championing writers across generations. Today, we'll talk with her about the creative process, the relationship between writing and the natural world, the importance of place, and what it means to build a life devoted to stories. Marilyn, welcome to Off the Page.
Oh, thank you, Camilla. That was a lovely introduction. I'm blushing. Can you tell?
Yes. Thank you. I think it's amazing to have you here. I have known you personally for a few years since I arrived to San Miguel. And I think that I can speak for myself when I say this about you championing writers across generations, because you came into my library, you brought books into my life. You brought Margaret Atwood to my bookstore.
I did.
So, I mean, I think you have made it also a way of being a writer to hug, or like to, yeah, in Spanish we would say abrazar, but like to accompany new writers, right?
That's really important to me. Many writers did that for me when I was starting out, and it feels right to pass that on. I still do a bit of mentoring, and I only mentor emerging writers um, because I find it so exciting to watch them grow, to watch them, accumulate the tools to express what they want to express. And every voice is unique, and to help bring out that voice is really thrilling.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think it's very important as an emerging writer to have that kind of figure, because sometimes if we go by what we see on the news or the reviews of the authors we know and we love and we read, we think that it's easier than it really is. And I was speaking to an editor a few weeks ago, and she was telling me, like, now everyone wants to be a writer, but no one wants to write. And I think that in this world where everything is happening so fast, writing is hard. It's getting hard for emerging writers. We want it
yeah.
published now.
Yes, that's true. I think I don't know. It's always dangerous to use yourself as an example, right? But certainly for me, I didn't expect to get published for a long time. I expected to have an apprenticeship and a trial period where I was learning the skills. And I think you're right. I think now there's some feeling that it's possible to have that instant fame, instant fortune. And some people do, right? Which makes people think everybody can get that. One of my worries is that attitude towards writing makes it very easy to fall into the AI trap.
Yes.
And I think that's a real problem. Nobody can do it for you.
Mm-mm.
If you ask, I hate that it's called artificial intelligence because there's nothing intelligent about it. It's a mimic. So
Yeah.
artificial mimicry. Um, they will just use a generic voice. It's not your voice,
Mm-mm.
right? It's
Yeah.
not your voice. So yeah, writing is hard, but it's also the most fun and the most pleasure,
Exactly.
really that you can get, right?
Yeah, and the fun and the pleasure you get it while you're writing it, not
Yeah,
after you wrote the story. You know, it's in the process.
absolutely. Writing is one thing, publishing is a completely different thing,
Hmm.
right? Publishing comes with all kinds of stuff. That's career. But to be a writer is to write. It's to
Hmm.
work with sentences. It's to try to get the sentences right and to get them lined up so they have some kind of a meaning.
And choosing or deciding the voice in which a story needs to be told. No, you have written fiction, memoir, essays. You have written about nature. I mean, like, how do you know which form a story wants to become?
Oh, that's a really big question. It's a really big question. I have no idea. So the way I work is I follow my curiosity and my obsessions. I don't sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a nature essay. I become obsessed by something, the relationships of a calla lily to a canna lily, and that might be the start of an essay. But I never choose a subject and then write the book. The
Mm.
subjects always, in a way, choose me. And often, like for books, I often read in the subject for a year or so.
Uh-huh.
For one thing, to see if that obsession has endurance. And for another, just to see what's out there already. And what inevitably happens is that I start hearing the voice.
Wow.
And so, like right now, I'm really interested. It's a story that takes place in Mexico. Um, and it's a person with whom I have almost nothing in common. Uh, and so I thought, yeah, I don't know if I can do this. But after reading around in his life and that subject for a while, I suddenly saw the opening and I wrote the opening. And it's in his voice. And I thought, this is it. This is absolutely it. So now I know I can write that book. The same
Wow.
thing happened to me with Refuge, which
Uh-huh.
also takes place partly in Mexico. It's the story of a 96-year-old woman living on an island where she thinks she'll be ending her days. And back in 2004, I heard that voice and I wrote from her perspective, seeing somebody rowing across the strait to her island and her response to seeing that. And the book was published in 2018, and someone asked me how it started, and I thought, I know it's in a notebook somewhere. And I went back, and it was in 2004, and that first page hadn't changed, hardly at all, a
Wow, that's
comma or two.
beautiful. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I'm not inclined to be very woo-woo or magic.
Mm.
But I do think obsession is really what matters. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's I've written, I don't know, I've published 23, 24 books, and everyone is different. And I love that you start every book like a 5-year-old. You don't know anything about it. You don't know how to write it. You don't know what the language is. You don't know what the voice is. You don't know what the narrative arc is. So you start out knowing nothing, and then you gradually fill in the blanks and you grow with the story.
Uh-huh.
And I absolutely love that feeling. But as a result, you're always starting from scratch,
Yeah.
right? And the only thing I've learned in all those years of writing is to trust, my instincts, my
Sí.
gut.
And I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes very hard, no? Because there are a
Yeah.
lot of
Oh, yeah.
voices that are telling you what you should do or what people are reading
Yes.
right now and how you should be writing.
Yes, that's right. Oh, but I'm never going to write zombies. I'm never going to write horror. I'm never going to write dragons.
That's
Never say
perfect. I
never.
mean, yeah. I'm interested about this notebook that you just mentioned. Do you have a lot of notebooks? Are you a writer that carries a notebook with you and just writes random scenes whenever?
My notebook habits have changed over the years. I do have I just finished giving 23 boxes to archives, but I didn't give my big tub of notebooks. I have two big plastic tubs full of notebooks. I've been keeping a notebook since I was 7. Um, but I don't I don't keep a journal or a diary.
Mm-hmm.
So, nothing by the day. But I do, once I start a book, I do keep a notebook that goes with that book. So because you have so many thoughts, and some of them are, some of them bear fruit and others don't. But I write everything down. I usually have 4 to 6 notebooks per
Wow.
book. Yeah.
Do you draw? Or
Oh,
I mean, I read and I feel like landscape, it's like almost a character in your work, and I'm wondering if you sometimes draw. Or what is your relationship with like such detail in narrating landscape?
that's a really interesting question. I'm a terrible sketcher.
Mm.
If you looked at any of my sketches, they don't look anything like the world. And they're so bad that I think if I drew, it would be an inhibitor
Mm.
to describing landscape. But I do have an absolutely fabulous and detailed memory.
Okay.
And it was interesting as we're going through photographs and trying to weed those down. I take a lot of photographs of landscapes and a lot of photographs of houses, of architectures. I've detailed photographs of every house I've ever lived in.
Mm.
Um, and I find myself keeping all those because ooh, look at what's on the bedside table. Ooh, look what's on the floor. So it's those details that capture me. But I do have I'm really blessed with a very specific memory for place. And you're right. I mean, for me, place is like a character.
Mm.
You can name a place and immediately a story pops up. So thank you for noticing
Mhm.
that. It's a very important part of life for me. Is
Yeah,
context, right? You have your
exactly.
political context that your character, is in. You have their emotional context, the family context. But I think just as important is the actual physical geographical context, the climatic context.
Claro.
It's why I love Mexico so much because it's so like Brazil, where I grew up, but it's also so different from Canada. And
Sí.
the ways in which climate and geography affect character is fascinating to me.
Ah,
Here, no one looks up. Like when they're walking down the street, no one looks at you
no.
ever.
And in
And
Mexico, everyone's saying hi.
I know. And I mean, here at home in my heart in Mexico, it's people are so open.
Sí,
But the landscape there is open. You can see
claro.
people coming from a long ways away. You don't have to be afraid. Here, it's all trees, right? And you drive along a road, you can't see 5 feet into the landscape. It's all shrouded. And I think this culturally over centuries has made people closed in a
Uh-huh.
way that they aren't in Mexico.
And how does being in these places affect the way you're writing? I mean, is there a story that you cannot write, for example, the one that you're writing now that is set in Mexico, that is hard for you to access while you're not in Mexico?
Yes, that's true. I know there are some people, I know writers who feel they have to be away from the landscape of their story in order to kind of see it, you know?
Mm.
I don't feel that way. I have to be right in the middle of it. When I wrote Refuge, I was living out in the country in exactly the kind of place that
Oh, wow.
Cassandra was living, you know. Every every book I write seems to take me into the landscape, that I'm writing about, which means I've moved a lot.
Has your definition of success as a writer changed over the years?
That's a really interesting question, Camilla. I think it was really a good thing for me that I never saw writing as a career.
Hmm.
So I know a lot of people who set out to join the pantheon of writers in whatever country. And I think, I mean, that can work, I guess, but it certainly couldn't work for me. I mean, my contract, my joy, my satisfaction is with the material. So I'm just engaging with the material. And honestly, every book I write, I think maybe five people will read it. I'm always surprised when it finds an audience. And of course, some books find more
Yeah.
of an audience than others, but my only competition has been with myself,
Mm.
really. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's very calming to hear, that publishing is not the pinnacle of success or being a bestseller or whatever, So on that note,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the people, the writers who visit the writers conference. I was wondering what advice would you give writers who are trying to enter the publishing world right now, that has also changed a lot over the years and has now a lot
Oh,
to do
it's
with
changing rapidly
social
right
media, I
now.
mean. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yes, it is really changing, but in really exciting and interesting ways that are hard to predict. So I in the last 2 days, actually, we've had lunch with two booksellers in two different cities. And in both cases, I said something like, are people still reading? And are they still reading literary books? Or have all the readers gone to genre, to romantasy and horror, etc.? And one of them said, there have always been strong genre books. It used to be mystery, now it's romantasy, same thing. But he said, you know what books are selling best in my store? Classics.
Hi, wow.
He said, I can't keep Moby Dick in stock. I have 5 different versions of it, and they're all selling really well, like hotcakes. And Dickens, he said, everybody's reading Dickens. Thackeray, George Eliot, they're all reading the classics, a lot of 19th century literature. Big books,
Yeah. And
right?
why?
I know. I don't know why. So then I asked the other bookseller exactly the same question. He had the same answer.
Ole.
He said he can't keep classics on the shelf. They're
Mm.
the hottest selling item. Okay, so, the wisdom has been write short, write genre, but there's a whole bunch of people wanting long, complicated narratives. So you can't predict, you just have to write what you write. And what you're writing, it may not be the right time for it to be published. It might be published 10 years later because it's not just a book, it's a book that falls into a culture and into a world. And you can't predict that. So what's the point in trying? Just write what you write.
That's amazing. Marilyn, I'm gonna ask you three more questions that have like quick answers, maybe.
Okay.
The first one is, what are you reading these days?
Oh, well, that's very interesting. It's called The Hot White. And this was a book that was shortlisted for the Carol Shields Prize, which is the biggest monetary prize in the English-speaking world. It's for women only, for American and Canadian writers. And it was so great. The voice was so clear, and it's a letter from a mother who has abandoned her daughter. And this is a letter to her daughter that she hopes her daughter will read when she's older. And you'd think that that would be an incomprehensible, how could you
How?
abandon your daughter? And it's riveting. I couldn't put it down. I found it absolutely amazing.
Sounds
And
great.
we're trying right now not to buy books
Please.
because we already have 8,000 and we're moving. Um, but we have bought a few books, and one of the most recent ones that I've read before that one is Robert Moore's book In Trees. And is a frequent visitor to San
Mhm.
Miguel. And it's a wonderful book. It's a nonfiction book.
Okay, now I have two more books to add to my mountain of
Yes, I know.
someday I
I
will read
know.
this book. I mean, buying books is an obsession also, I think. I mean,
Yes.
it's
Well, I have my Spanish has to get good enough so I can read in Spanish so I can buy Mexican books.
see,
Yeah.
you will get there. Have you seen something this week that made you curious and that maybe could be used in a book?
Oh, yes. So one of the things we're doing to get ready to move is we're going through boxes of my parents, grandparents, great grandparents, things which have somehow all fallen to me to be the guardian of. And I have a correspondence between my mother and father when my father went to Brazil. And I've always wanted to set a book in Brazil because it's such a vibrant place for me. And I haven't found the story yet. I mean, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You have an idea, a place or a character, but you don't quite know what happens,
See.
right? So, yeah, so I set that correspondence, and this was from 1956, so that was 70 years ago. So I've put that aside, plus all the postcards, plus all the photographs from that time period, just to see if
If
to see if,
something.
if something will happen. We'll see.
I'm so obsessed with correspondence right now. It's crazy. I've been buying so many books and reading everyone's correspondence, and I feel like it's such an intimate and also honest and vulnerable way to know someone, because they were writing that for no one else but the other person that was going to receive the letter.
Yes, exactly. And it's nothing at all like email, right? Which is
No.
essentially like publishing. And I found in my aunt's materials a cloth bag, and inside was a torn up letter. So I took quite a bit of time to put it
Yeah.
back together again,
Wow.
and that might be part of the story.
That's beautiful. I love that. I've been sending letters to some of my friends and like from San Miguel to
Wonderful.
Mexico City. Just so, I don't know, I want to have a conversation that the internet cannot get to, like that no one can read, just me. And I,
I I think that's wonderful. And I don't know about San Miguel, but here in Canada, as late as the 70s, there were two postal deliveries a day. So you could write to your friend in the morning and receive a letter back in the afternoon.
I, wow.
Yeah, and
No,
now, I mean, there's barely one delivery a day.
exacto. But it's nice. I mean, the time you have and the way you start looking at the world, just thinking of what are you gonna tell your friend in that letter. I think it's
Yeah.
very intimate and interesting. So I'm excited to see what comes out of those boxes of letters that you have.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
I so far in my life, I've never started something that didn't end up being written and published, right?
Okay.
So I think my compulsions are, I trust them.
See.
I trust them. So even though I don't know what's there now and there's really nothing to hang on to, because it makes something here go fast,
Mm.
okay, there
Yeah,
must
you
be something, so
you
keep
put.
it.
And lastly, if your readers could watch one invisible moment in the making of your books, right? Not the writing itself, but something behind the scenes, what would you want them to see?
Oh, these are secrets.
Oh, I love secrets.
I dress up. When I'm doing a character, I get in character myself. I wear their clothes, I wear their perfume. I listen to the music they would listen to. So when I was writing The Convict Lover, I found those letters in my attic, and I found some of her clothing and photographs, and I lined up all the photographs on my desk. And she had this little bouquet of beaded flowers. I had that.
Wow.
Um, I wore her clothes. I mean, it was, and I played, and she had records, and I played her music, which was mostly religious music, and she liked marching bands.
Uh-huh.
So Sousa and that sort of thing. Yeah, I do have a bit of a theatrical background. That's what I studied in university was theater, and I was involved in a lot of theater. But it really helps me.
Mhm.
It helps. I often wish I I know some playwrights, and
Uh-huh.
I'm so envious because they get to have readings of their work, right? And the actors are there and they're all doing it, and then they say, "Oh, no, 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 don't say that, say this." And then they try
Claro.
to, "Oh, that's right." Yeah, I would love to have a theater troupe in my office here so that I could just say, "Here, could you play that scene for me?"
That would be amazing. I mean,
Wouldn't it? Yeah,
yes,
I know.
of course. And you will be like, no, doesn't work like that. Let me change.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't work at all. No. So, in the absence of a theater troupe in my study,
You are
I dress up. Yeah.
okay. Ah, that's amazing. Well, Marilyn, thank you so much for speaking with us, for sharing these secrets, for everything. This conversation, I know it's going to give to all the listeners, and I hope to see you soon here, and of course at the writers' conference.
Oh, I'm so happy to talk to you. It makes me homesick for San Miguel de Allende.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'll be there soon,
you'll be here soon.
and I'll be at the conference, of course.
Thank you for listening and watching this podcast. If you find this content interesting, go to our Instagram page at San Miguel Writers Conference or our webpage, sanmiguelwritersconference.org, and stay up to date with everything that this Writers Conference has for you. Remember, keep reading and stay curious.